Welcome to our Candidates Virtual Town Hall meeting. We will have a welcome from our president of Epsilon Chi Omega, Mrs. Patricia Toney. Please unmute Mrs. Toney.
Good evening. I am Patricia Toney, president of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, Epsilon Chi Omega chapter. On behalf of our graduate chapter, Epsilon Chi Omega, and our undergraduate chapter, Iota Xi, which is on the campus of Francis Marion University, we welcome you to our virtual town hall meeting, which will serve as a forum for candidates on the local, state, and national levels to present their respective platform. Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated, the first African-American sorority founded on the campus of Howard University in 1908. Today, we have membership of well over 300,000 operating in more than 1,000 chapters to meet the needs of the communities we serve. Our sororities programs have changed the social and economic landscape of our nation, and we will continue to make a difference worldwide for decades to come. James Weldon Johnson wrote these words in Lift Every Voice and Sing. He said, "Stony the road we trod, bitter the chastening rod, felt in the days when hope unborn had died. Yet with a steady beat, have not our weary feet come to the place for which our fathers died. We have come over a way that was with tears has been watered. We have come treading our path in the blood of the slaughtered. Tonight, we have an opportunity to hear from people who want to be a part of the process of change. After that, we must all do our part. We've got to go vote. Too many have suffered, too many have died. Out from our gloomy past, till now we stand at last, confident, capable, gleaming, and ready. It is now time for our bright stars to be cast. Vote like your life depends on it. Guess what? It does. Welcome.
Mrs. Carla Jefferson.
Good evening. It is a joy to introduce our moderator for this evening. Tonya Brown is a general assignment reporter at WPDE News Channel 15. She attended Morris College and received a Bachelor of Arts degree in communications. Tonya is a native of Bennettsville, South Carolina, and grew up watching News Channel 15 all her life and remembers almost all of the past reporters and anchors. She became inspired to become a journalist after a television reporter spoke to her 7th grade class. And you may remember her aunt, UZ Brown, who was an anchor for WPDE 15 at one time as well. When Tonya isn't meeting deadlines, she's speaking to community groups and churches. She enjoys talking to the youth and helping them when needed. She has been reporting stories out of the PD for nearly 20 years. Tonya has covered hurricanes, tornadoes, major ice storms. She lives in the PD with her husband and looks forward to continuing to tell the stories of the PD. And so now I introduce to some and present to others my hometown homegirl, Tonya Brown.
Can you all?
We're here, Tonya. Are you on? We can't hear you. They don't have her on yet. She's on.
Okay, can you guys hear me now?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, sorry about that. I'm not sure what happened. I'm in my, all right, I'm going to, all right. Thank you, Carla, for that gracious and such a wonderful introduction. You make me feel so special. Carla and I did go to high school together in Marlboro County, home of the Bulldogs. All right, I'm not gonna take too much longer, but I just want to remind everyone that this is not a debate. The debate comes on at 9 o'clock, the presidential debate. We have 18 candidates who were invited. 13 candidates are expected to present their platforms tonight. We have town rules that have already been established by Mrs. Barnes. We plan to start with our 4 city council at-large candidates, but we will have to put Mr. Jamie Harrison on at 6:40 due to a conflict in schedule. Now, he will have a drive-in at Wilson High School on Saturday, October 21st, October 24th. That is this coming Saturday at 5. We have 3 GOP candidates, and that would be Representative Wallace J. Jordan, Representative Philip Lowe, Congressman Tom Rice, who was not available to be here tonight, and Senator Graham, whose representative did not confirm with us, but that person didn't decline. There will be 3 GOTV guest cameo appearances, starting with Congressman Jim Clyburn. So now we're going to have each candidate's political category one at a time, but we'll introduce all the candidates at once in each candidate category, please. We're going to start with now this cameo from Congressman James E. Clyburn, who represents the 6th Congressional District, and he is a member of the Omega Psi Phi Fraternity Incorporated.
I need not tell you how important voting is. And voting is always important. A lot of people are calling elections this year the most important elections of our lifetimes. I don't know about that. I do know that every election is important. But I also know that some elections are more consequential than others. And I'm pleased that you all are pausing tonight to provide a forum for all the local candidates to share their visions with you. And hopefully, you will be informed to make good decisions going forward. And I think it's important for us to bring these kinds of forums to our young people. I was telling someone earlier that I'm a little bit dismayed that we don't have the teaching of civics in our public schools like we had when I was coming along. And I think it's going to require that all of us to get involved at the community level. And so having forums like this, I think is a big part of that. So thank you so much for all that you're doing. I hope that the candidates equip themselves well. I hope that all of you will learn enough to make very informed decisions when you get to the voting booth on November 3rd. That is, if you don't use the rest of October to cast your vote. So thank you so much for having the forum, and I'm pleased to be a part of it.
I think all of us have seen Attorney Harrison's commercials and political ads and signs all across the airwaves, the radio, and we've seen his signs all across the PD and other areas of the state. Is Mr. Harrison available? If so, he can go ahead and begin his platform and kind of tell us about his plans and why he is seeking office. I think he is expected to present himself in a few minutes. I'm trying to navigate to figure out. Let me go check my chat room to see what's going on. Reading room. I don't see him in the reading room. All right, we're still waiting on Attorney Harris, but when I got home about 10 minutes ago, I had in my mailbox some literature that talks about Attorney Harris's campaign. It says, Harrison helps bring our communities together to set aside politics, embrace public service, and work together to improve our state at the local level. It says that he believes people are South Carolina's greatest resource. That's why he started Harrison Helps last year, to bring the spirit of helping back to every community in South Carolina. I'm just trying to give you some information about him before he comes on. It says, as a result, thousands of South Carolinians have already been touched by his Harrison Helps campaign through its work with local grassroots organizations. He says that he's helped give students over 1,000 backpacks and supplies, and he provides grants during the pandemic so that local communities can provide critical support like PPE and virtual counseling for those who are most vulnerable. It says he serves meals at the Ronald McDonald houses across the state during the holidays, as well as run different food drives in North Charleston. Did a story today on how the community is really in need of food. We have segments of our community that were really hit hard by the pandemic. And over in Marlborough County, the PD Indian tribe, along with Representative Patricia Moore-Hennigan, they did a food giveaway today. He likes to, according to his literature that I'm looking at, Attorney Jamie Harrison, who is running for U.S. Senate, says that he likes to help young people with job interviewing skills, and that is a plus. I am going to check the chat room again. Okay, he's on. All right, thank you. Can we unmute Attorney Jamie Harrison?
Hello?
I hear you.
Yes, hello. thank you, Tonya, for having me. This is fantastic. Sorry for the technical difficulties there for a second. I could hear you, but couldn't just work my way over. Well, it's indeed a pleasure and an honor to be with all of you tonight. I know we have many of the candidates that are on as well, and I just want to thank all of the members of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated and the members of the National Panhellenic Council for having all of us on tonight. We are on we're coming very close to what will probably be the most consequential and impactful election of our lifetime. And I know that sometimes we say that a lot in elections, but I think this time it really is. We're at a crossroads in the nation. We have candidates that are constantly talking about fear and chaos, constantly trying to pull us apart and place us in the various camps. But what I'm trying to do, and what I see so many other candidates trying to do, is to bring hope back to South Carolina, bring hope back to communities that have lost all sense of hope. And that's what's really important at this point in time. South Carolina is a wonderful place. I am so fortunate and so blessed because I have lived the American dream. I grew up in a trailer, raised by a teen mom, grandparents, 4th grade and 8th grade education. But I went on to go to Yale. I went on to Georgetown Law School. I went on to work on Capitol Hill. And right now, I am running to be the United States Senator from South Carolina. That only happens in America. But the reason why I'm in this race is to make sure that we can have that American dream available to all of the young people across this great state of South Carolina. That's what's really important at this point in time. But our motto here in South Carolina is one where it says, "While I breathe, I hope." And hope is an important component of achieving that American dream. But there's one step that we have to take before we get to that motto that we have here in South Carolina. We all have to stand up and say enough is enough in the face of the hatred and the bigotry and division here in our country and in our state. In order to bring hope back to all of these communities, we all have to vote. So in the next 2 weeks, our motto won't be "While I breathe, I hope," but it will be "While I breathe, I vote," because that is how we bring hope back to South Carolina. That is how we bring hope back to this great nation. So I encourage all of you, and I know that you are doing it, and your members are going out there actually getting people to go to the polls. But let's make sure that all of our folks go out and vote.
Sorry about that, Attorney Harris. What you were hearing was the timekeeper saying that your time was up, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you some questions. A portion of South Carolina has been dubbed the corridor of shame, and some rural hospitals have closed under the present administration. Plus, you have acknowledged that women have to travel far to seek medical care from an OBGYN. What do you propose to improve the socioeconomic disparities in the PD as it relates to women, African Americans, DACA, and the LGBTQ communities?
Well, and there are a lot of topics in that question, but I think the first thing I can say, I'm the only candidate in this U.S. Senate race that has rolled out an agenda to rebuild and revitalize rural communities across South Carolina. It's called the Rural Hope Agenda, and it contains 5 parts. It's looking at, when I got into this race, I was trying to figure out, why is South Carolina at the top of all of the bad lists and at the bottom of all of the good lists? And as I started doing my analysis, part of it was because of the long-term disparities that we have seen and inequities we have seen in our state, particularly in healthcare, particularly in education and economic opportunity and infrastructure. And so my Rural Hope Agenda is an agenda to rebuild and revitalize rural communities across South Carolina. In healthcare, we need to expand Medicaid in the state. We are one of only 12 states that have refused to expand Medicaid. If we did that, today we would cover almost 250,000 people. If we did that, today our rural hospitals will stop closing. If we did that, We will attract medical professionals so that South Carolina doesn't have 14 counties where there are no OBGYNs. We also have to tackle the issue of infrastructure. 38% of our communities in South Carolina, rural communities, don't have access to broadband. My friends, this is 2020, not 1920. Just like we have electricity flowing into our homes, every community should have access to broadband. How do we expect our kids to compete with the rest of the world when they can't even connect with the rest of the world? And my opponent industry, Senator Graham, just this year decided to author a bill in order to have broadband. He's been there for 25 years. This has been a problem, not just now, but for a long time. We need someone with a vision about how we take all of South Carolina into the 21st century and further. And so that's what I'm proposing. The proposal has ways that we increase economic opportunity, bringing better pipes and roads and bridges, making sure that we make these areas attractive to business. And so I'm very, very proud of the Rural Hope Agenda. If folks want to see some of the details, go to jamieharrison.com and look under our policy section. It's really, really important. So thank you all again, and thank you for that question. And with that, all of those groups that you mentioned their lives will all improve when we can rebuild and revitalize the communities that they live in.
Thank you so much, Attorney Harrison. We know that you're busy. We know that you have a lot going on, and we certainly appreciate you stopping in for just a moment or two to share your platform and to answer a question from us. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Tonya. And also, I want to add, folks, if you want to come, I'm having a rally in Florence at Wilson High School this upcoming Saturday. I think it's from 5 to 7 p.m. So come on out. There'll be probably some of these same elected officials that'll be on. We would love to see you. And thank you all again for the hopes, for the prayers and the support.
Thank you so much. We appreciate your time again.
Thank you.
All right, we're now going to move to the city council candidates. And up first we have is Pastor Lithonia Peaches Barnes. Again, keep in mind that you all have 3 minutes to give us your platform. Pastor Barnes was recently named the pastor of a church. This is a singing woman, so I know she has a lot to say. Take it away. And we see you if you want to go ahead and start. We can see you. Okay, can we please unmute her? Sounds like you're unmuted. Nope. We can't hear Pastor Lithonia Peaches Barnes.
Okay, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Yeah. Well, hi everyone. Good to see everybody. I'm glad to have the opportunity. Thank you so much for the invitation, and I am privileged to be on this panel with so many great people. I am Lithonia Peaches Barnes. I am a candidate for the Florence City Council seat at large. And I am, I guess I'm not really talking to you guys who are running, but also to those who are listening. My platform, just to tell you a little bit about me, I'm a hometown girl from Florence, South Carolina. I've graduated from Wilson High School. I've started and ran a very successful business for over 20 years, but in the business for about 30 years. I started the first business in the downtown kickoff for the revitalization of the downtown area. I'm an educator, an administrator with Florence Darlington Tech as well as Virginia College. I'm a mom, I'm a grandmother. I've done a lot of things, and one of the things that I am most passionate about is just being a servant. being one that offers themselves for the betterment of mankind. So one of the things that I would love to see, I would love to see the recruitment of new businesses for better paying jobs. I have 2 grown children and they moved away, and I would love to see more of our children and young adults loving Florence the way I love Florence, the way you love Florence, and for them to be able to make a living wage here. I would love for them to say, I'm staying home because I can raise a family in Florence because I can make a decent wage. I also would love to restart the city and county teamwork initiative. That committee used to work, and I would love to restart that, be a part of restarting that. I'm blessed to have a brother that's on county council. Wayman Mumford is like an uncle. I was raised right down the street from him, so he had a part of my rearing. But I would love to see the 2 city and county work hand in hand in making Florence a wonderful place to live for the citizens. I would also like to, with this COVID that has hit us really, really hard, we need to do something to help our local businesses. So I would love to start a support your local business initiative.
Okay, Pastor Barnes, again, we have 3 minutes, and I'm not sure if you could see your time countdown on your phone or on your screen. But we'll come back and ask you some questions before the night is over. Now we have Pastor Steve Bird, who is also running for Florence City Council. Another pastor. Amen. Waiting on Pastor Bird to come up. And if you guys can constantly check your screen, because we don't just want to unmute you. Okay, is Pastor Bird on? Let me check my chat box here. I don't have any new messages.
Can you hear me?
I hear you, Pastor Steve Bird.
Oh, thank you.
Tell us a little bit. I don't see you, but tell us a little bit about yourself. Now I don't hear you. Okay, I'm not hearing Pastor Bird at all. Pastor Bird, can you restart your camera?
Yes, I did that. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can see you too. You look like a pastor.
Awesome. Well, we all know this. You don't want to vote for me to be in charge of media. How about that?
That's okay. That's okay. That's okay.
Awesome. Hey, thank you for all that you do, Mrs. Brown, to keep the region informed. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on here tonight. So I've never been in politics. If you'd asked me 4 or 5 years ago, I'd have said I have no desire to even be in the political realm. I pastored a church for quite a long time, and I've been in business. I was a bivocational pastor, so I've been in business for about 30 years. Took a little different route in life to kind of get there. And I moved back to the PD area about 3 or 4 years ago to be near my kids and grandkids. And I've always had a heart for Florence. I was born and raised in Mullins. I graduated from Mullins High School. The challenges that I see in the PD area, a lot of folks think that Florence is growing. We've had sort of stagnant growth over the last couple of decades. But a lot of the growth has come from people like friends I have from all over the area, Chiraw, Bennettsville, Mullins, Marion, Lake City, who have moved to Florence to find jobs. And so I realized that, we have a great council now and a great team there. But as we go through different seasons, I believe that we have different needs. And so what I bring to the table is, I believe, a skill set that can go out and help recruit businesses and investors. I've been in business development for a little over 25 years, been in business for 30 years, helping small businesses, recruiting investors for small businesses. At one point, I was responsible for 3 states with my company, Virginia, North Carolina, and South Carolina. So I see the growth that other cities have. I see the growth that's happening all in the Southeast. And I'm going to be quite honest with you. It would be a sacrifice for me to serve because I'm not self-employed. So my family and I feel that this is what we want to do. We want to invest in the area. We want to invest in the community by serving. I serve as a pastor. We give of our time. And so I just want to try to help the area to get better jobs, making this area strong for the entire region. You can find more about me on my website, birdforflorence.com. Thank you again for the opportunity.
Thank you so much, Pastor Bird. We appreciate it. We'll come back to you a little bit later for more questions. Now we have, who's also a Florence City Council candidate, Attorney Shaquaz McCall, who I was told got married just a few weeks ago. So we're waiting to hear from you, Attorney McCall. You can give us a little bit about your, tell us a little bit about your platform.
Yep, can you hear me?
I hear you and I see you. Looks like you in your law office.
Yeah, I couldn't. Busy day. But again, I'm not a pastor, so y'all will put an attorney behind a pastor, but I'm not gonna say anything again. But I'm a father. My name is Shaquaz McCall. I'm running for Florence City Council. I'm a father, a husband, attorney, and a public servant. And again, I'm asked often why I'm running, and I always say the same thing. It's because I want to make sure Florence works well for everybody, regardless of what side of the tracks you were born on, regardless of what position your mom or your dad had in life, regardless of what community you live in. I want to make sure that every Florentine has the opportunity to live up to their truest potential. Again, I'm a native here of Florence. I'm an alum of Wilson High School and Francis Marion University. My wife is also an alum as well. She's a public school teacher. So all the public school teachers out there, thank you for everything that you do. I will always compliment you on your hard work again. So thank you for everything. I went out to law school at North Carolina Central University School of Law, and I came back home. I came back home because I knew I wanted to serve my city. And I always believed in what Florence has to offer and what it could be. And that's the shining city here in South Carolina. I was born here. I want my kids to be raised here. I want my kids to raise their kids here. So if we're serious about moving Florence forward, it has to start with the economic agenda. And that has to start with people having a mindset like I did coming back home, right? So that's making sure that we're retaining and we're attracting our young people and our young professionals to stay here in the city of Florence. I'm 27 years old. I'm by far the youngest candidate here. So by giving young professionals a seat at the table, and having someone to advocate for their ideas will kind of can help generating and introducing more energy for our kids to come back home. Secondly, women in one, I got you. Secondly, we are in the mix. We are in the middle of between Miami and New York on I-95. We need to make people want to say, I want to come to Florence. And I want to make sure that the city of Florence is bringing in attractions that make people want to get off the interstate and want to come here and hopefully maybe want to stay here in the city of Florence, because that traffic creates business. That business helps out the entire city. Lastly, small business support. I was the only candidate during COVID-19 to come out and with a COVID-19 plan. You can check it out on my campaign page, mccallforflorence.com. Check it out. I would go into the details, but it's too much. But again, Florence owes me nothing. I literally owe Florence my life, and that's why I'm serving. That's why I'm agreeing to give up my entire first year salary to the Florence Boys and Girls Club, because I'm here to serve. Literally, Florence allowed a son of a 14-year-old single mother to become a first-generation college student, one of the youngest attorneys in the state of South Carolina, and now a candidate for Florence City Council. Did I get it off in time?
Yes, you got it off in time. Thank you so much, Attorney McCall. Next, we have Mr. John Sweeney. John used to be in the newspaper business as a newspaper writer. He's a journalist, and I've known him for a long time.
Hello, Tonya. Yes, we have gone to many news stories together. It's good to see you again.
Same here. Tell us about your platform.
Absolutely. Well, first off, thank you very much, and thank you for those putting on the forum. It's fantastic to have the chance to share our visions with you on what is an extremely important election. Again, my name is John Sweeney, and I'm a candidate for Florence City Council. And I try to make it as easy as possible for voters to learn about me and about what I stand for. I boil it down to 3 letters, 2 words. The 3 letters are CEO, and the 2 words are choose Florence. Now let's start with the CEO. That's not a reference to my current career in economic development. I work for a group called NISA, which focuses on industrial attraction in the 9 counties that make up the PD and the Grand Strand. Nope, CEO describes me personally: creative, energetic, and optimistic. And I think those are 3 characteristics that the city of Florence needs right now. We're in the midst of a very difficult time. As has been mentioned, obviously, we're in the middle of a pandemic. And I've been going door to door, talking to folks, canvassing during this campaign. And there are some folks who are feeling a little down. There are folks who've been hit hard by the economy. Some folks who obviously have lost loved ones. And it's difficult to find the optimism to carry ourselves forward. But I have seen in the time that I've spent here since coming to Florence and graduating Francis Marion in 2009, I have seen the incredible energy that the city of Florence has to offer, that its people have to offer. And I know that we can come out of this pandemic, of this difficult time, stronger than before. Now, as to what I stand for, my campaign slogan is 2 words: choose Florence. But it's more than just a slogan. That's a promise. It's a promise I make to every single one of you. Every decision that comes before City Council, I will ask a simple question. Is this proposition more or less likely to make someone, family, an individual, or a business to choose Florence? And I think that in order to have as many folks choose Florence as possible, we need to focus on 3 areas: community safety, neighborhood revitalization, and economic development. Community safety, I've already committed to hiring 10 to 15 new officers, patrol officers, within the next 8 years. Because if we don't have a safe community, then really nothing else matters. When it comes to neighborhood revitalization, I have a plan that I've called Pockets of Progress that focuses on every side of town, north, south, east, and west, identifying the areas of need and making sure that we can tailor-made solutions to those areas so that each can grow by attracting private business. Which brings me to the economic development side of things. I understand that a municipality has a specific role to play in attracting industry and other businesses, because that's my day job. And so I am excited to bring the creativity, the energy, and the optimism to work for the city of Florence. And I look forward to sharing more about my platform with all of you tonight.
Thank you so much, John Sweeney. We appreciate your time, and we'll come back to you for questions. Now we want to move to the Florence mayoral candidates. That's Mr. Brian Braddock, and that's the Honorable Teresa Myers Irvin. Brian Braddock runs the House of Hope. He has done so for many, many, many years. And he's always out and about in the community, the same as is the Honorable Teresa Myers Irvin. She does many things, from being in the medical field as a registered nurse to working in real estate, to being a public servant and just doing help. Brian is also a public servant. And we're going to start with Brian first. Keep in mind that you each have 3 minutes to tell us about your platform. Mr. Brian Braddock.
Hey, good evening, Tonya. It's good to see you tonight. I'm Brian Braddock. Tonya told you a little bit about myself. Born and bred in Florence. Grew up here, grew up in Brook Green, Terra Village, and then Effingham, neighborhoods that today are worse than they were when I grew up there. I went to Del May, Carver, Greenwood Elementary School. Finally finished up at South Florence and then attended Francis Marion University, where I got a degree in economics and met my wife, Tracy. We've been married for 24 years. And we have 5 daughters, Hannah, Haley, Hayden, Holly, and Hope. So the reason I'm running for mayor is because the facts show Florence is struggling. The city of Florence has only grown about 3.9% in 10 years. That's about 1,400 people. Companies like ESOB, Roche, DuPont, Washington Mutual, Fleet Mortgage have left Florence during that time. And I think it's because of an alarming community safety issue that John mentioned. Crime in Florence is higher than 97% of other U.S. cities, 2.1 times higher than the U.S. average. What concerns me the most, having 4 daughters, 3 teenagers at home, is chances of becoming a victim of violent crime is 1 in 205 in South Carolina, but 1 in 103 in Florence. Tonya, I want to give you something other than a shooting in Florence to report on Facebook. I want to bring community safety first and foremost by lighting up our city. You know, something as practical as lighting up the city can decrease crime by 39%. Cleaning up areas in our neighborhoods, you know, getting the police officers into the community. I want to work to fix our crumbling roads and infrastructure, build a working relationship with county council. They've done so much in our city, and you have to work hand in hand between the city and county. Aggressively address this drug-related crime activity and expand economic development in all of Florence. I'm about progress, not politics. I'm not a politician. I've worked with people struggling with addiction, with homelessness. I have a business. I've graduated in economics, and I work in economic development. That's why I'm the best candidate to be mayor of Florence, South Carolina.
Thank you, Brian Braddock. We appreciate that. We'll swing back around to you a little bit later for questions. Now we have the Honorable Teresa Myers-Irvin, who has been on Florence City Council for more than a decade, and now she wants to be the city's next mayor. Mrs. Myers-Irvin, tell us about your platform.
Hello, how's everyone doing this evening? I'm Teresa Myers-Irvin, yes, and I'm a candidate for the mayor of the city of Florence. When it comes to my platform, I'm born and raised and educated right here in the city of Florence, South Carolina. So I've had the honor of seeing our city as we've been moving forward over the years. So for me, when I look at our great city, I see our potential that we have. I've had the honor of serving on the city council to secure funding to build the Pearlmore Gymnasium, as well as to secure $3.5 million for community development, which has never been done before in the history of Florence. I've also had the honor of being able to design plans and grants to assist small businesses. And I have a platform that I want to continue with downtown development as well as community development. And while I'm doing that, the things that I want you to know about, I want you to go to my website, florencemayor.com, so you can get more of the details. But in developing our downtown, I will leverage the fact that we have a tax increment finance zone. I will take those fundings to be sure that we can design packages that would serve for micro businesses. Micro businesses are businesses that generate less than $250,000 a year. And we need to make sure we're recovering our businesses after COVID. I would like to design step-down incubators. These are shared business spaces that also have workspaces that serves for retail, because a lot of people now, when they're developing a business, do not want that overhead cost. So I want to be sure that we can service our micro businesses as well. There are companies that can come in and manage this particular project for us. I would also be sure to generate the dollars to continue our community development. Our community development will consist of continuing to have packages available for first-time homeowners that consist of down payment assistance, which is something a lot of times people need, but also chairing the community redevelopment program, I want to be sure that I focus on making sure East Florence would also be developed with new homes as well as addressing the corridors that service through that area. But also, I want to be sure that we continue to develop new jobs and produce new businesses because that is how we're going to be able to attain and keep our citizens, but also attract others here to our city. I want to be sure that we continue to expand our Green City Initiative because we deserve to be a healthy city with green spaces so we continue to move Florence forward. So please go to my website, florencemayor.com, so you can read in detail about the things that I desire to do to move Florence forward. And experience does count. And you can look at my track record of service that I've always been a morally ethical citizen and also representing our city. I'm running for mayor so we can continue to move Florence forward. I love my hometown and I believe you do too.
Thank you, the Honorable Teresa Myers Irvin. You summed it up right on time. Your time is up right at the nick of time, as they say. We appreciate you. We're going to move to the sheriff's candidates. I'm going to tell you a little bit about them, but we're going to have a cameo appearance just before they come. We know our sheriff candidates. We have on the Republican ticket, we have Mr. TJ Joy. TJ worked for South Carolina Highway Patrol for a very, very long time. He's met a lot of people. He's helped a lot of people. He's even helped me out several times. We have Mr. Darren Yarborough, who is running on the Democratic ticket. Darren has been in law enforcement for 30 years. I know he doesn't look 30, but he's been in law enforcement for 30 years. He's helped a lot of people, including me. We know Darren and TJ Joy are both committed to being the best sheriffs that both of them can be. And they're going to come and tell us about their platforms in a little bit. But before they come, we're going to have a guest cameo by the Reverend Maverick Graves of Mount Zion AME Church. That's on Chevy Street in Florence. He's also a member of the Alpha Phi Alpha Fraternity Incorporated. And he is going to share a quick message with us about getting out to vote.
Thank you, Tonya. Greetings and thank you so much to my sisters of Alpha Kappa Alpha for sponsoring this extremely important event. As a child of the 60s and one of a few Black children who integrated the all-white schools of Lakeview, South Carolina back in 1966, I've now lived long enough to have seen America move forward in many respects. But over the past few years, I've witnessed this nation go backwards at an alarming rate. Much of the progress of the last 50 years has been reversed. So when folk tell you the soul of America is at stake during this election, please believe it. When folk tell you to vote like your future depends on it, please listen and vote in even larger numbers than we ever have before, regardless of who you decide to vote for. Through our votes, we have the power to turn things around and again be the America that so many of our ancestors worked so hard to help create. That includes our cities, our county, our state, and our nation. Never would I have imagined that I would see America moving so far in the wrong direction, being led by such divisive elected officials. It is time to let your voices be heard. Please, my brothers and sisters, wherever you are, vote, 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 and take somebody to vote with you. Thank you, Tonya.
You're welcome, Pastor Graves. I believe that was the shortest sermon you've ever preached, but it was good. It was good.
Thank
All right,
you.
we're now going to have Mr. TJ Joy. Again, he is running for sheriff on the Republican ticket. TJ, tell us a little bit about your platform and what you want to do if elected as sheriff of Florence County.
Thank y'all. I really appreciate y'all having this forum. First of all, I want to tell you that I've spent 31 years in law enforcement. I started my career as a military police and went into the National Guard 132nd. Then I was a deputy sheriff 1985 to 88. Then I came on the highway patrol and went through the ranks, and I was an executive officer over 8 counties when I retired. But my platform consists of transparency. Number one, we have to have more boots on the ground. We're going to have to get these shifts, the patrol shifts, that will deter crime. We'll put more people on patrol, and it will help us get a better handle on communities and the crime rate where they are. We can have these regions that we know our problems are in, sector them out, and put the people in those areas to work. We need an average of 14 people per shift to work this size county. Where we are, there's some working with 5 or 6 deputies now. So most important, the next thing that I think transparency, I want to be transparent with everyone, is body cameras. We've got to get body cameras. That is for also the police officer, the officer involved, and also the defendant. Those things are open, they're transparent, and those are the things we need to do there. Let me see my time, 1:30. Okay, well,
you got a good bit of time.
Okay, well, we've got a backlog with cases. We got to get more investigators as well. The restructuring plan is going to help us do that, to get more boots on the ground. We can get a grant for the body cameras, and also more investigators to do their job, the backlog of cases with the county right now, and to give the victims some justice for this. That's my platform.
Thank you so much, Mr. TJ Joy. We'll come back to you for questions. We'll now have Darren Yarborough, who is running for sheriff on the Democrat ticket. Mr. Yarborough, tell us about yourself. We need to unmute Mr. Yarborough, please. I see you. We just can't hear you.
Can everybody hear me?
We hear you now. You're good to go.
Okay. Well, thank you all for having me. My name is Darren Yarborough, running to be your next sheriff here in Florence County. I'm married. I have 2 kids, 6 grandkids. I'm married to a beautiful wife of 13 years, Sonia Frazier Yarborough, who is an English teacher at South Florence High School. I have over 27 years in law enforcement. I am still current as a law enforcement officer. This is there it is. I'm still current as a law enforcement officer. I'm still serving in law enforcement. My platform is to restore credibility, integrity, and transparency to your sheriff's office in Florence County. One of the things I'm also looking to do is, and I've always said it from the time I announced my candidacy, is body cameras. With everything that we have going on across this nation, body cameras is one of the things that here in 2020, I don't understand why our sheriff's office don't have body cameras. But from the day I announced my candidacy, that is one of the things that I was pushing for. And I'm going to continue to push for body cameras because, we don't need a sheriff's office where the citizens of Florence County cannot trust us. We need to be transparent. We need to be trustworthy. And that's one of the things as your next sheriff, I will make sure we put in place. Also, community. I've been a community officer all my career. People used to say that I was good as an investigator, good as an officer. But like I tell people, I wasn't good because I was good. I was good because I had a working relationship with my community. And I will make sure as the next sheriff that our department, starting with the leadership, has a working relationship with the community. Starting with the administration, which I believe is the starting point of any organization, I will make sure that my leadership, we will have, again, credibility, integrity, and transparency in that administration, because that's where everything starts at. It's hard to kind of sum this up in 3 minutes, but that's one of those are the things that I'm looking to do. And I'm looking to be a victim first department. A lot of times our victims go unnoticed. They'll be put on the back burner. I want to make sure we don't do that with our victims.
Thank you, Mr. Yarborough. We appreciate your time. We'll come back to you a little bit later, and we'll have some questions for you, if that's okay. Now we're going to have another guest cameo. This time it's going to be from Representative Terry Alexander, who represents District 59 in Florence County. He's also a member of Kappa Alpha Psi Phi fraternity, and he is going to come with a very important message.
Thank you very much, Tonya, and thank you for the sisterhood of Alpha Kappa Alpha Incorporated. We appreciate you all putting this panel together, this forum together to hear the needs and the concerns of these candidates and what they stand for and what they represent. And it does not matter what they stand for and what they represent unless we get out to the polls and vote. I know every year it comes around, we say that this is the most important election that we ever had. Let me say this, every election is important. Every vote counts every time you vote. Now, it does not count and it does not matter what you say if you do not cast your ballot. So we are encouraging everybody, and we are encouraging everybody to ask somebody to go to the polls and vote. As I so often said in these past couple of weeks, that we are living out the dreams of our ancestors. We are what they dreamt about, and that is the opportunity to vote. And we should not let our ancestors down who are looking down from the windows of heaven and seeing us participate. We have elected officials, Black elected officials. We have mayors, we have city council members, House members, we have senators. We have a potential senator that we hopefully that's going to be elected this coming November. So
Sorry about that, Pastor Alexander. We wanted to kind of keep things going, so we had to, you went past your time a little bit. All right, we're now going to hear from our District 60 candidates for the State House of Representatives, Mrs. Teresa McGill Kane and Mr. Isaac Wilson. Mrs. Kane, she works as a career counselor in Florence School District 4, and she also works with the Lee County School District with their First Steps program. Okay, Isaac Wilson is the founder of the Isaac Wilson Project. He is also a best-selling author. He's written many books on bullying. We will start first with Mrs. Teresa McGill Kane. She's going to tell us about her platform and why she is seeking office. I see her. We just need to unmute her.
There we go.
Yep, there we go.
Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for this opportunity to speak. I am Teresa McGill Kane. I am a running candidate for the House of Representatives District number 60. I am a native of Florence County, born and raised here. I've moved away for a while and came back. And of course, as I stated so many times, things have not changed much with Florence County other than a few buildings that have been put up, some things that have been revamped, but the mindset of a lot of our constituents have not changed at all from some 30, 40, 50 years. And I am a graduate of Western University with a MBA degree. I've also graduated from the University of Phoenix with a Bachelor's of Business Management degree, certified with the Lee County First Steps, as well as certified as a career specialist with Florence District 4. As far as my platform is concerned, I am excited about that because there's so much that can be done and need to be done in Florence County. One of my joys is thinking about working as far as with the communities. Many of our communities in Florence County, especially in the rural and minority areas, are in need of much infrastructure, as well as paved roads, and as well as communication with a lot of our constituents. I've spoken to many people who have never ever met any of their representatives at all. And I found that a little perplexed, because it is important that when we are placed in a spot, or we should be able to recognize who we are, who put us where we are. Another thing is that I am in education, so that is one of my joys and pride. I do believe that teachers do deserve more than what they're actually getting paid. And I say that because they work 365 days out of the year and nonstop. They are not actually getting what they deserve. And also with our small business and education and healthcare, there's a lot of things going on with our healthcare right now. And I'm praying that we will be able to come up with some type of solution, whereas our elderly will continue to have their education. It is now time for all of us to get together and make a change and a difference. And I'm asking that you vote for Teresa McGill Kane for the House of Representatives, District number 60. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Mr. Isaac Wilson. We will now hear from Mr. Isaac Wilson.
Everybody can hear me?
We hear and see you, Isaac.
Okay. How's everybody doing tonight? Again, I'm Isaac Wilson, native here at Florence, graduate of Wilson High School. I went to Morris College, left there and went on to play a little bit of baseball, but then started getting into bullying prevention and started a company in saving our children from bullying and suicides. But I'm here tonight to talk about my race for the State House. So I'm running for the people of Florence, advocating for a living wage. We, in over 10 years now, haven't lifted the minimum wage from $7.25. And in 2020, with too many families struggling financially with what's going on in our communities today, it's vitally important that we fight for more wages for our families. And then we want to advocate for quality health care. Just having a peace of mind of being insured with health care and being able to afford it is something that our citizens should be able to have. Especially again, now with being in a pandemic, we're seeing it as more apparent that a lot of our South Carolinians don't have access to good health care. And then we want to advocate for better jobs and economic development. We need an educated workforce by investing in rural education, a fair tax policy that promotes industry and credits and incentives, crucial to bringing more good paying jobs to Florence and our state. And then we want to advocate, like Teresa said, we want to advocate for rural broadband access, for access to internet. In 2020, there's no reason why some of our areas should not have access to internet. It stops them from being able to compete. And then lastly, we want to better our education system and teacher pay. The most important aspect of creating a better, more equal and more prosperous South Carolina is the state legislature properly investing in our state's education system. Particularly in rural areas like the I-95 corridor of shame. It's more apparent the lack of support and pay our teachers receive. And we need legislation that forges them an opportunity to stay home in South Carolina to teach rather than go abroad for more pay. In a nutshell, our healthcare system is predatory and inhumane. Our criminal justice system is crumbling and our education system is inadequate and underfunded. Our tenant protections are repeatedly gutted. Our political process is horrifically dysfunctional. The opioid crisis, which has received far too little attention in South Carolina, must be treated like the medical emergency it is. People with addictions must be treated, not criminalized. And we must guard at all costs a woman's right to choose. I will be a representative that will support your ideas, fight for the needs of our community, and earn your respect. I'm running to restore justice, rebuild community, and renew the trust in Florence's District 63. If that's something that you can get with, go on over to www.wilsonforflorence.com and let's change this city together.
Thank you, Mr. Isaac Wilson. Appreciate your time. Right now, we're going to hear from Mrs. Melissa Ward Watson, and she is a candidate for House of Representative District 7. I was just reading some things about her online. She was in the Army Reserves for 6 years, and she was named the Rookie Teacher of the Year for Baptist Hill High School. And it sounds like Baptist Hill High School is over in Charleston, South Carolina, or near the Charleston area. All right. Mrs. Melissa Ward Watson is going to come in and tell us why she wants to run for that office, or why she is running for that office.
Hello, everyone. Can everyone hear me?
I can hear you. I just can't see you.
Oh. I've got my camera on. Everything okay? Well, hello everyone. Unfortunately, Melissa could not be here tonight, but I am happy to be here to represent her. My name is Lauren Everett. I am the field organizer for the campaign. And I've loved working for Melissa because, as I've told people, this is the first time I've worked with a candidate who I feel truly represents me and my loved ones. Melissa is a mother of two. She is a veteran. She's a teacher that works multiple jobs to make ends meet. And so she has seen how ineffective leadership harms communities like those in the 7th district, and she's ready to get things done. She knows that it is critical to protect our coastal waterways because our tourism and our agriculture industry relies on it. We need an offshore drilling ban to make sure that these are protected and that we are able to, our farmers are able to have non-toxic soil to keep their crops healthy and growing. She will fight for funding for our infrastructure. And that doesn't mean just making sure that there are no potholes and that the appearances are sightly. This is an investment in the growth and sustainability of our region. She will fight to expand rural broadband to increase educational and career opportunities for rural communities. We cannot give our students, or as Jamie said, we cannot create career opportunities for our students if they are not able to connect with the world. As a teacher, Melissa understands the importance of this and she will fight for it. Continuing on through her platform, she will make sure that we all work for a livable wage and that we all have access to healthcare. These issues intertwine in so many ways. Access to healthcare is also impacted by our infrastructure. In some parts of the district, you have to drive over an hour to receive health care. If Highway 501 floods, then you cannot get to the hospital from Conway. She understands these issues and she is ready to fight for us. And I'm so honored to be here to represent her and to answer any questions you guys have.
Thank you so much. We certainly appreciate you stepping in for Mrs. Melissa Ward Watson. Next we have, it's Florence County candidate, District 8. That is Reverend Amari Hooker. Reverend Amari Hooker is my classmate over at Marlboro County High School. He's also a distant cousin. He is a pastor. He preaches at a church in Lake City. He's got 3 beautiful children. He's got a lovely wife. And now he is going to come and tell us why he wants to represent Florence County District 8.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
We hear and see you.
Oh, bless you. First and foremost, I want to thank once again the wonderful women of Alpha Kappa Alpha for your historical as well as present urge to serve the community that you find yourself in. Thank you, Tonya, always faithful in your reporting and your journalistic integrity. Look, let's be real clear, and I'll tell you why I'm running. I found myself fearful and ashamed of the Florence County response to COVID-19. I would have been happy to stay in my church and do church work, but I realized that I can't really deal with the crime, the poverty, the sickness, and the lack of information going on in our community from the level of church without dealing with the structure of Florence County and how Florence town interacts with the county. District 8, an opportunity came open when the seating incumbent died of natural causes. And now I have an opportunity to fill this seat. And God has called me to this position. Why? Because we're at a point in life where we need a strategic thinker in Florence. We need somebody that can come to the table. And I'm asking the citizens of Florence to, as they said in Hamilton, let me into the room. If I get into the room, I think we can make changes that will help. I believe in an informed community, citizens' rights, healthcare choice, community development, education quality, and fusion politics. Let me say a word about fusion politics in this last minute. Fusion politics is the coming together of different entities in the community. The alphas, the kalphas, the omegas, the sigmas, the AKAs, the zetas, the phi betas, all of the Masons, the Eastern Stars, the mom and pop and them, everybody coming together and being represented at the table If you put me in the room, if you put me at the table, I will represent the people and make sure that in Florence County, we have equity across the board, not just in Township of Florence, but across the county. I'm the candidate you want. I'm the person you want in the room. I'm the strategic thinker you want. And to be honest with you, I'm the best man for the job. It's time that we moved Florence and Florence County to that next level. Thank you so much for this opportunity.
Thank you, Reverend Amari B. Hooker. We're now going to turn this Zoom candidates forum over to a different segment. We're going to go with questions and answer sessions. And Mrs. Phyllis Law will actually help out with this. She will notify us about some of the questions. Also, we have students at Francis Marion University who are going to answer or ask questions to our Florence City Council members. I'm going to check the chat room because I just saw a message that came up. Okay, thank you, Ms. Law. All right, is Ms. Janetta Wilson available? Ms. Wilson is going to ask a question. Okay, I see you, lovely girl. I see you. All right.
Hi, my name is Janetta Wilson. I am a student at Francis Marion University. I'm also a member of the Untitled chapter here at Francis Marion University, and I'm a middle level education major. My question is for Ms. Barnes. My question is, what are your plans to improve the infrastructure of the North and East Florence communities?
If we could bring up Ms. Barnes.
Yes, I'm here. One of the things that we've got to do is we've got to actually go in and we've got to assess and prioritize. There are so many needed issues that we need to address, and so we're going to have to prioritize them. But flooding, we're having problems with the yards flooding. We've got potholes. We've got sewage, raw sewage. In North Florence, I know of one case that that is returning. One of the first steps is this penny tax sale that will if passed, will allow us monies to go in and invest in our communities. And it is needed very, very, very severely. It's needed. We need to go in, and some of the areas that are not traveled are hit even harder. But we've got to address them, and we've got to prioritize them and put them first on our list.
Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you too, young lady, for asking that question, Ms. Wilson. We appreciate it. We're now going to have Ms. Natasha Young, who is an FMU nursing major, and she is going to pose a question to Mr. John Sweeney, who is running for Florence City Council.
Good evening. Mr. Sweeney, the city of Florence already has a partnership.
We see you now. Restart your question.
I'm sorry. Good evening.
Okay.
Mr. Sweeney, the city of Florence already has a partnership with Northeastern Strategic Alliance. How can your experience with NISA or economic development make an impact on the underserved communities if elected to city council that you can't or have not done with NISA now?
No, that's an excellent question. And I think the best way to answer that is having an understanding of exactly the way that the system of economic development works. You have to understand that what I've been working on is industrial development, which industrial development primarily occurs by law in the state of South Carolina with incentives and such at the state and county level. And the reason that I'm running for city council is I think it's important to focus on what the municipality can control, which is primarily the quality of life. You have to understand that industrial attraction, economic development's a big term, and it applies to a lot of things. Industrial attraction, what I've been working on, is complemented by the quality of life that can be offered by a municipality. And so When you're dealing with things like community safety, when you're dealing with things like neighborhood revitalization and growth within the city, it's a slightly different category. It all works together in the realm of economic development. But in my role now, I don't get a chance to work on the quality of life because I'm working on attracting the industries. With the city council, I want to work on tackling things like that community safety, like stormwater drainage, focusing on things like small business. So again, economic development, a very large term, but whether you're talking the state, the county, or the municipal level, there are different roles to play. And so I think I can make a difference in the role at the municipal level. So that's a great question.
Thank you, Mr. Srini, and thank you, Ms. Young, for asking him that question. We're now going to have Larry on George, who is the FMU Student Government Association Treasurer, and he is going to ask a question to Pastor Byrd, who's also running for Florence City Council. Reverend Byrd, you have 90 seconds to respond.
Good evening, Reverend Byrd. My question is, if you are elected to City Council, how long do you think the water drainage fee should continue to be assessed, and why or why not?
I apologize, Larry. Is it Larry on?
Yes, sir.
Could you please ask the question again? For some reason, my phone blinked when you were doing that, and I didn't hear the whole question.
Of course. If you are elected to City Council, how long do you think the water drainage fee should continue to be assessed, and why or why not?
That's a very good question, Larry, and I appreciate you asking that. So ever since I put my name in the hat to run, I've gotten pictures from neighborhoods all across the city where we have lots of drainage issues and lots of challenges. I believe that as a city council member, we need to work in conjunction with all areas of the city. I know we have a new development coming into the West Florence area, which is going to take care of some water issues there, and that's something that's already planned. But we have issues in every area of the city. We have areas in South Florence that flood literally every time it rains. And so we would need to look at the budget there and see how long that we need to keep that going.
Thank you.
Thank you, Pastor Byrd, and thank you, Mr. George. We're now going to have Miss Brianna Brown, who is also a student at Francis Marion University, and she has a question for Attorney Shaquez McCall.
Hi, good evening, everyone. It says here my question was for Sheriff Darren Yarrow. Is it okay to go ahead and ask him that question, or?
Are you Ms.
Oh, I'm
Brown?
sorry. Okay, I have the new one. I'm sorry. Okay, so good evening. I am a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha Sorority Incorporated. I am a part of the Iota Xi chapter here at Francis Marion University. I'm currently a senior student. I'm studying art education. And so I have a question for you, Mr. McCall. So Attorney McCall, you are a product of North Florence, and your potential constituents want to know, what are your plans to formulate policies to improve the infrastructure in your neighborhood to help provide jobs?
Do we have Mr. There you go.
Yeah, I'm here. I'm here. Thank you, Brianna, for the question. Again, thank you for the question. But again, I will have to first, work with council to, formulate that proposal of that policy. But it starts with how the city of Florence grew downtown. We're serious about growing our neighborhoods. We have to have a strong public-private partnership. And that starts with the city primarily starting off with the investments of investing in a particular area, primarily infrastructure downtown, in North Florence, and having private investors, hopefully those people in North Florence, so we can provide different incentives for them to want to invest off of that progress that has already started. In addition, regarding jobs, I got a Q&A, got questions. All right, it's fine. But I said question okay, sorry. But again, in addition, I got you. But it gets in addition to providing jobs, we have a new center on Isla Jones Park. COVID-19 has kind of shuttered the impact of anyone using it, but being able to make sure that we're giving job training and apprenticeships and making sure that people are aware of the opportunity that the city has will be great at that center. And additionally, and I think is more important, which I'm ready to get to, is if the penny sales tax is approved, there's a lot of money, a lot of contract money out there that needs to be distributed equitably, and making sure that we have some Black contractors gaining from that penny sales tax. I should probably get like 10 more seconds, but it's fine.
Thank you so much. We will now have a question for Reverend Amari Hooker. And that's also from an FMU student, but I don't see, I'm not sure of the name of the student who will be asking the question. Let me check my chat box to see if there's something that's changed. Yep. If the student isn't available, I can ask the question. Okay, Janetta Wilson will ask the question from what I just saw in my chat box. Okay, I will go ahead and ask it. Janetta, are you ready to add? Do you have the question?
Yes, ma'am, I do.
See, girl, you're just good. You need to be on TV. All right, take it away, Janetta. Her question is for Reverend Amari B. Hooker.
Yes. So Reverend Amari Hooker, how do you plan to make an impact on the Florence community if elected as city council?
Thank you, Ms. Wilson. And let me tell you something about myself. For over 18 years, I've been doing community-based advocacy. I just recently came and stepped down as the tri-chair for the Poor People's Campaign in South Carolina in order to run for this office. If elected, I'm going to go on to day one and start what I'm talking about in fusion politics. One of the problems you all have in Florence, as well as Florence County, is there is no working, strong relationship between the county and the city of Florence. Everyone is mentioning the penny tax. Well, the penny tax money comes through the Florence County. And if we're not responsible in Florence County with getting that penny tax money properly allocated in Florence town, then there's not even going to be some of these great things that these other candidates want to do. So we're going to work together. I'm going to encourage people to work together. And by golly, if I got to, I put the fear of God in folk to make sure we do what's necessary for Florence.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
The fear of
Yeah.
is the Francis Marion student body president. He has a question for Mr. TJ Joy, who is running for sheriff on the Republican ticket. Mr. Robinson, you can ask your question when ready. And Mr. Joy, we'll wait for your response. Thank you, Mr. Robinson. We see you.
Good evening, everyone, and good evening to you, Mr. Joy. My name is Ty Robinson, and I am the student body president at Francis Marion University, where I'm also a senior political science student there. Mr. Joy, I kind of have a two-part question for you, so if you'll bear with me. I just want to say thank you for taking time out of your schedule to be with us tonight. A potential constituent of yours raised a valid point in writing saying Mr. Joy seems too busy with youth athletics to interact with Florence County when it comes to campaigning. And she also asked, will you continue to coach if you are elected to the position of sheriff? And if so, how will you prioritize Florence County while continuing to do so? And also, if most of your experience and skill set is in highway patrolling, what specific skills do you possess that prepares you for for everything that entails the position of county sheriff? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. I appreciate it. First of all, the part about athletics, anything I do, I'm gonna give 110%. The actual, anything that I missed was due to the COVID part. I had two coaches out, quarantined. We were quarantined. We've been through a lot this year with COVID as well, and it's real. Some people politicize it and say it's not there, but it is. It's hit us. Out of 7 or 8 games, you know, we played, I think we played 4. And so it's real. I believe that we have to quarantine. We do what we're told to do. That's the most important thing, that we make sure we wear our mask. That this is where this is coming. You ask about, I wouldn't be at meetings. One of the reasons I didn't go to the Women's League meeting, I asked my campaign manager to go. At that time, we had COVID. I didn't have it. We had several of the kids that were tested positive, so we were not able to, you know, move forward. I was out of coaches, and I was not going to into an environment and try to spread this thing, because I didn't know at the time if I had it or not. So that was one of the reasons why I didn't do that. What was your second part of the question, please? If I was going to coach, I think I'm right on that. If I do win the sheriff's race, no, I will not be able to do that. I'm going to prioritize that sheriff's office, and I'm going to inspect what I expect. As far as my chain and supervising, I've done that my whole life. As far as I was a military police, I was a Florence County deputy, and I've been on the highway patrol, and I was in supervision for over more than 21 years.
The second part of the question was, if most of your experience is in highway patrol, what skill sets do you possess to qualify you to oversee serious investigations, including murders and rapes?
Well, first of all, a sheriff doesn't work the murders or the rapes. And I've been involved in all kinds of different incidents, shootings, police officer shootings, everything from rape, kidnappings, and all that, as far as working the road. As far as me supervising, we will have the people in place, and my chain of command will have the people in place to enhance that and to work that.
Thank you so much. We appreciate that. We appreciate your time. We're now going to have Miss Brianna Brown, and she has a question for Mr. Darren Yarborough, who is running for sheriff on the Democratic ticket.
Hi, good evening again to everyone. My name is Brianna Brown. I am from Francis Marion. I'm also a member of Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority, and I am a senior studying art education. So I have another question. This will be for Sheriff Yarborough. So Mr. Yarborough, is it public knowledge that you were dismissed from the Darlington County Sheriff's Department when you decided to run for sheriff in law enforcement? And then also I have a second part to that question. How has law enforcement, the experience from it, prepared you to be sheriff if elected?
Thank you all for that question. Yes, ma'am, it is public knowledge that, once I announced my candidacy, an hour and a half later, I was dismissed from the Darlington County Sheriff's Office. So yes, that is public knowledge. My 27 years and currently serving in law enforcement, 23 years with our Sheriff's Office, working my way through the ranks of law enforcement, from correctional officer, investigator, all the way up to captain of the detention center, has prepared me to be a right now candidate of going into the sheriff's office, knowing what areas we need to focus on first, which I believe is the administration, to get your sheriff's office back on track to where we can, better serve you, the public of Florence County.
Thank you so much, Mr. Yarborough. We now have questions for our state representative. And those questions will be posed by Mr. Kareem Lyles or Miss Nicole Dixon. And they have questions for Mrs. Kane, Mrs. Teresa McGill Kane, and Mr. Isaac Wilson. We'll start with Kareem Lyles or Miss Nicole Dixon, whoever wants to go first. I'm not sure which candidate you have first. Okay, we're looking at Brian Braddock right there. Hi, Brian. I didn't get out. Let's check the chat room. Maybe there's been a change and I don't know about it. Stand by. All right. Do we have Mr. Kareem Lyles or Miss Nicole Dixon? According to the outline.
Can you hear me?
Yes. I
Okay.
assume you're Kareem Lyles.
Yes, my name is Kareem Lyles. I'm an educator here in Florence, and I'm a member of Delta Kappa Lambda, the Phi Alpha fraternity chapter here in Florence. My question is for Mrs. Kane. I think the pandemic has proven just how hard educators work. I am a dedicated educator, and I, along with other educators, would like to know, will you support and vote for teachers' pay raises, and what new legislation would you propose to help District 60?
Good. It's a pleasure to meet you, sir. And yes, I will support teachers' increase in pay, and especially now during this COVID. As I stated earlier, the teachers are actually working around the clock. We oftentimes have students that are contacting us for various reasons or questions pertaining to virtual learning. Some of the things I think I will put in place first is to get the community involved, especially the parents. A lot of the times the parents are not actually acclimated to what's going on with the virtual learning. So the first thing is to get the community and the family involved in what's going on as far as teaching their children as far as the COVID is concerned. Now, what was the second question?
Will you support and vote for teachers' pay, and what new legislation would you propose to help District 60? So what new legislation would you propose to help District 60?
Okay, one of the things that I would propose to help District 60 is to allocate for all schools to be involved equal how should I say it? Make sure that all of the schools are getting the same process, the same allocated amount of funds. And in doing that, I will make sure that when bills come through, that I'll be able to voice those opinions and the fairness of all the schools versus just one or two.
Thank you so much, Mrs. Kane. We now have a question for Mr. Isaac. I'm sorry. We now have a question for Mr. Isaac Wilson, and it will come from either Mr. Sean Ellerby or Miss Nicole Dixon. And this is for, I think I hear you, Nicole. I just don't see you. Can we bring up Nicole Dixon or Sean Ellerby for this next question? I'm gonna check the chat room to see. Okay, guys, Nicole, you're up next. Well, okay.
How you doing? This is
I'm
Sean
here.
Ellerby.
Go ahead, Sean, if you want to answer.
We can go ahead. Okay.
But don't
How you
y'all fight it out.
We good to go. Okay, for Mr. Wilson. I want to make sure I got him. Mr. Wilson, will you support and vote for improved roads and replace old bridges timely in your district? And what new legislation do you propose for District 63?
Thank you, Sean. I do support, infrastructure in our district, and I don't support the piecing of the roads. I support real legislation for infrastructure, meaning we shouldn't have roads that are still flooded once you pave them. We shouldn't have yards still flooded when we pave the roads and fix sidewalks. We should stop, piecing things together and really get a big package deal together and support our constituents in building infrastructure with their tax dollars. As far as new bills, I would have to see what's on the table already that I can support. Sometimes there's not a need to build your own bill, but to support and bring awareness to somebody else's bill. So that's something I will work with my colleagues, Republicans and Democrats, to see if we can come together and get that deal done.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, now we're going to have another question, and this one it's going to be for Mr. Brian Braddock. It looks like I am asking this question. Let's look and see. Yep, it looks like I'm asking it. Mr. Braddock, the House of Hope recently received money from the Aiken Foundation. And keep in mind, Mr. Braddock, these are questions that were brought to me, all right? I did not come up with the questions. The House of Hope recently received monies from the Aiken Foundation that should keep you quite busy. Thank you for the job that you're doing to help with the homeless, by the way. Now, it's public knowledge that you have done an article with, SC Now. I don't like to mention the other competition, and a documentary with FMU about a homeless adventure with a friend who as Cash. You have admitted and you have said that you're a recovering drug addict. How can you assure the community that you're able to cope with being the executive director of the House of Hope and being the mayor of Florence? That's the first part of the question. I'll give you the second part when you answer that. Keep in mind you have 90 seconds.
Okay. And so is the question, how can I maintain both without relapsing or maintain the pressure?
It alluded to that, but it just said, how can you assure us that you're able to cope with being the executive director of the House of Hope and being our mayor at the same time?
All right. So let me address that real quick. So right now, currently, I'm the executive director of the House of Hope. I have 4 girls at home, 3 teenagers, and I also run a business called Forward Focus, where I do leadership training and development for companies and individuals. Companies such as Jiffy Lube, ILD Landscaping, Gittins Chiropractic, and Nationwide Insurance. So I'm able to multitask. I have the capacity to do that. Every mayor of Florence has been duly employed. Our last mayor ran an attorney, ran a law firm. The mayor before that had a construction company. So I'm not being called to do anything more than anyone previous. In relations to my addiction, I had someone ask me one time that I was counseling. They said, Brian, how can you be sure that you'll never use drugs again? And I haven't used drugs in 15 years. I said, well, I can't answer that because I don't know. At the time, I'd never lost a parent. I'd never lost a child. And I was like, I can't answer that. All I know is that I've got to have faith in God that I'll get through any obstacles. Since that time, I have lost a daughter. I have lost my mother. I have lost my father-in-law. But I've maintained my sobriety because I've maintained my daily personal relationship with Jesus Christ. And that's where my victory comes from.
Mr. Braddock, thank you so much. Those were tough questions. Thank you for your honest.
You got to take tough questions.
Yep, I understand. All right. We now have the Honorable Teresa Myers-Irvin. And thank you for doing everything that you've done, Mrs. Irvin, during this COVID-19 pandemic. You have truly been on the front line. As you know, infrastructure is key to the growth of Florence, and we are so familiar with some of your contributions as a city councilman, supporting the building of a new community center and single-family housing within the city of Florence. As the mayor of Florence, what are your plans to further contribute to the socioeconomic growth of Florence? And what strategies will you use to retain and attract young people to Florence, including graduates of Francis Marion University? Again, this is a question that was brought to me. I'm just reading it.
Well, that's fine, Tonya. That's actually a wonderful question. And I'm going to step over here because I want to be able to give you some information due to my location right now. But when it comes to being able to contribute, what is important that we think about the fact that right now that we have 2 of the largest medical employers there is in the state of South Carolina, MUSC and McLeod Regional Medical Center. We also have Hope Health, who's located here. So when I think about the factor that it comes to recruiting and retaining our talent, we are positioned to be the medical capital of the PD area, a healthcare center. The side is that as we're developing new jobs, we also need to have green spaces, a walkable city, so that we can have a healthy city. When you have a healthy city, you also therefore become noted for being sustainable and open opportunities to have companies that come in who focus on sustainability and also environmental development with renewable energy. I see I have 30 seconds left. So basically, I will say that I would want to focus upon making sure that we become the medical capital of the PD, but also have the opportunity to have healthy environments and also bring in new jobs, continue to expand our green spaces, but also develop our East Florence corridor, which leads us out to the county and bring in new homes. And please go to my website, florencemail.com, so you can see more detail of how I plan to do this. Thank you.
Thank you. It's hard answering 2 and 3 part questions in 90 seconds. We appreciate you guys for doing it. We certainly do. All right. This next question is for Mrs. Melissa Ward Watson. It says currently who is running for House of Representative District 7. Right now, under Congressman Rice's term, economically, the focus seems to be on the Horry and Georgetown area, county areas. What would you do to help the PD area economically? I, again, am reading this question. These are not questions that I came up with. I have to say that as a journalist.
Yes. Well, thank you so much for that question. Can you guys see me? Am I up yet?
You're up. You're up. We see your gorgeous red hair.
Thank you so much. Well, the focus is in Horry and Georgetown counties. As you know, the tourism industry is huge in those areas. Melissa plans to increase economic development in the PD by, one, the expansion of rural broadband. This will make it more probable that companies like tech companies and clean green jobs can come into rural areas. She will also fight for funding for our small businesses. As some may know, minority business owners oftentimes have to start businesses out of their own pockets because they cannot secure loans. This is an issue that Melissa is not only willing to address, but will find solutions for to make sure that people are able to become successful entrepreneurs.
Thank you so much. She would be proud of you. You've done a great job filling in for her and working on her behalf. All right, we've already asked Attorney Harrison his question. So now we're going to go to closing remarks. We're going to have closing remarks from Representative Patricia Moore-Hennigan, who is a member of the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority out of Marlborough County. She's also a representative in the House of Representatives. And she's going to come with some closing remarks, followed by Mrs. Joy Barnes, who is the chapter connection chairman.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I want to thank Epsilon Chi Omega chapter for bringing on this forum. It was really enlightening, and I'm so glad that I had the opportunity to be involved. I'm going to talk about the importance of voting, because that's the only way that any of these individuals will be able to hold these seats. One of the things that Marian Wright Elderman once said, and I wholeheartedly agree with her, is that people who don't vote have no line of credit with people who are elected, and thus posing absolutely no threat to those who act against our interests. There are 30 million eligible African-American voters that can vote in 2020. The key question that many of people are asking is, are they motivated to come out and vote? And I think they are, because I think people are realizing that if you fail to vote, that you do not get any say. But when you vote, you earn the right. You earn the right to criticize what the things that you feel are not in your best interest of your community, your state, or your nation. And regardless of whether you are rich or poor, or you own land, or you rent, or you're male, or you're female, and regardless of your race, we get to help to decide things that matter in our daily lives, because voting is power. And that I can promise you that it is. The only ones that ever win an election is because people vote. The lowest turnout is our young people, so I am encouraging them to vote. Let me share with you a few percentages that you need to know. Ages 18 to 29, 46.1% voted in the last election. but almost 54% did not vote. And ages 30 to 44, 58.7% voted, and almost 41% did not vote. And ages 45 to 66, we had 66.6% that voted, but almost 34% did not vote. And the ages 65 years old and older, 70.9% voted, but we still had 30% that did not vote. We have work to do, and we only have a week to get people to the polls. And one of the things that we need to remember that when we vote to elect, we elect our United States president, state governors, state senators, and members of the House of Representatives, as well as U.S. senators and congressmen. But we also elect city mayors and city and county council members. And the only way that we can handle this is we have to activate our power, because your power is in voting. Now, one of the things that I always leave with is tell people, if you want affordable health insurance, you have to vote. If you want affordable college opportunity for your children, you have to vote. If you are concerned about the climate change and environmental threat, you have to vote. If you are concerned about gun violence, you have to vote. If you want to reform the criminal justice system, you must vote. If you believe in education, healthcare, immigration, infrastructure, the economy, our veterans, workers' rights, LGBTQ rights, and reproductive rights, you must vote. And when you don't vote, you silence yourself. No one else can do it. And you allow someone else to speak for you. And that is not what we want people to do. No one can hear you when you are silent. It's our power. When we vote, we want it, we own it, and we can either use it or we can lose it. And I want to leave those words with you today. Get out and exercise your power. Your power is in voting. Thank you.
Thank you, Representative Patricia Moore-Hannigan. We appreciate your time.
Thank you.
We know that you are a busy person doing so much to help the people in Marlborough County. I overlooked a message in my chat box, and it has some questions here. This is a question from Ladine Gamble out of Williamsburg County. Her husband is Pastor Norman Gamble, who is the head pastor over at Ebenezer Baptist Church here in Florence. And it's to any of the candidates, and I so apologize that I am just seeing it now. So we ask that you give about a 15 to 20 second answer. Since the pandemic, there seems to be a rise in the cases of domestic violence. This is Domestic Violence Awareness Month. All candidates, what will you do if you are successful in your candidacy to not only bring attention, but resources for groups such as the PD Coalition Against Domestic Violence and Sexual Assault? We still have Mrs. Hennigan up. If any of the candidates want to expound, that would be great. What will you do to provide more resources, if elected to the position that you're seeking, to groups that advocate against domestic violence, like the PD Coalition?
Are you asking me or are you asking them?
Just any of the candidates.
Okay.
If you want to chime in, you can.
Okay, I'll wait and see what they're going to say.
Well, Tonya, I wanted to say this is a group that's near and dear to my heart. My mother was a board member for the PD Coalition before she passed. You know, obviously at the House of Hope, we work daily with the PD Coalition. We have women and men come into our facilities, and through our screening, we will identify if they're in an active abusive situation and immediately connect them to the PD Coalition and other organizations like the Naomi Project as well. You know, as the mayor, I will bring the same supportive nature that I have currently. Anything that comes in terms of a need from this organization, I will support fully, and support any efforts and collaborative efforts to make their important work more beneficial to our community. This is a huge issue in Florence, domestic violence. And we're going to it's going to take more than just the mayor and city council and PD coalition. It's going to take working with either Mr. Joy or Mr. Yarborough. It's going to take working with the police chief Heidler. It's going to take a collaborative effort working with the hospitals, MUSC, and with McLeod and with Hope Health. Sure that we come together and we come around this organization and build collaborative efforts to help them.
Thank you so much, Mr. Braddock. We now have Reverend Hooker who wants to answer the question, and then John Sweeney, and then Darren Yarborough. We ask that you keep your responses to 15 seconds.
Yes, all right. One of the things we need to deal with in Florence County is the allocation of funds. There's no use that Florence County continues to stockpile and leave funds unspent. We need to allocate some funds directly to help and care committees and agencies such as domestic violence agencies. Funds need to go to those agencies. They don't need to just be privately funded. The county can take care of its own people. Its citizens have rights, and part of citizens' rights is taking care of those in need. And domestic violence is an issue that deals directly with poverty. We need to deal with folk in poverty. Then we can move them to dealing with things such as domestic violence, as well as lack of education, home safety, and homelessness. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, John Sweeney, same question.
Thank you very much, Tonya. So domestic violence is something that's obviously extraordinarily important here. You know, most people forget to realize that during the COVID pandemic, a lot of domestic violence increased because of the fact that the folks were not able to report it in the usual channels. I think the way to solve this domestic violence, whether you're talking about spousal abuse or child abuse, is to make sure that folks know the resources that are available, whether that's organizations like the PD Coalition or many others that exist throughout the entirety of the city. I think the city council and the city needs to make sure that we do what we can to raise the profile of these organizations so that folks know the resources that are out there, because it's a problem that needs to be addressed and certainly is one I'm looking forward to working on when elected to council.
Thank you so much. We'll now have Teresa Myers-Irvin up to answer the same question, followed by Darren Yarborough and then Isaac Williams. So we'll go with Ms. Myers-Irvin's next.
Hi. Yes, myself being a nurse for over 39 years, I'm very familiar with the subject, as well as I've known people who have been victims of domestic violence. As a nurse, I've actually had time of training at the PD Coalition. So as a part of the city, we have a program called No One is Sheltered. A part of this program is where our nonprofits can apply and receive funds. So we are funding the coalition. On a medical point, there are other avenues that we do need to be able to join our mutual resources together to support the victims of domestic violence. Domestic violence sometimes is an act that is kept quiet because the victims tend to sometimes be ashamed. So even beyond funding is to develop the resources, connect the various resources we have together so they'll be able to leave the situation when they desire to do so. So I will continue to support PD Coalition and other organizations who fight against domestic violence. Thank you.
Oh, okay, thank you. Darren Yarborough.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you. You know, and as a former lieutenant over the domestic violence and the criminal sexual conduct division, I've worked closely with PD Coalition, Household, you know, all of the organizations that is involved in domestic violence. One of my main priorities is victims first. You know, a lot of times the victims feel that, you know, they don't have a voice, or, you know, they're dependent upon that spouse that is bringing forth that domestic violence. You know, we have 2 domestic violence investigators at the sheriff's office that's entirely what they do. I will make sure we continue to strengthen our domestic violence division, and we continue to work closely with House of Hope and not the House of Hope, but the Care House and all of the PD Coalition and all the organizations that work with domestic violence, because again, that's one of the main issues here in Florence County is domestic violence and criminal sexual conduct. And as the next sheriff, I'll make sure we strengthen our relationship with these organizations, and victims are first.
Thank you. We'll now have Isaac Wilson and then Pastor Byrd. Isaac? Okay, we can't hear you, Isaac. Can we unmute Isaac?
There we go. There we go. We all know and understand that South Carolina has some of the highest rates when it comes to domestic violence. And we're not proud of that. We have a committee with the legislative body that works on trying to strengthen getting these numbers down and to strengthen these relationships with these organizations. And so that's what I want to do. These smaller organizations that we have that are committed to the process, bringing them all together and collectively doing a joint effort in that and not leaving them out. And again, I'll echo what Reverend Hooker said. It's all about the allocation of those funds. We have a representative now in my opponent who says that the $600 million that we got from a lawsuit, that we need to save that money for a rainy day. And so I don't know about you, but it's been raining in South Carolina for about 30 years. And so we need to spend that money in places that is needed. And this is one of the places that we can pinch off and help out our women and men who are victims of domestic violence.
Thank you, Isaac. We now have Lauren Everett, who is speaking on behalf of Melissa Ward Watson. Lauren, about 15 seconds, guys. All right, if we've got TJ, go ahead, TJ.
Yes, speaking of the domestic violence, it is a big issue here in Florence County. Also, the federal funding has been cut over 18% with these programs. Also, I'm planning on having a foundation. I've got great support with this stuff. I've kicked off a foundation fund that will help with the funding with these programs to help people with this, with the victims of these crimes. Thank you.
Thank you. Pastor Byrd.
Yes, can you hear me?
Yep, we hear you. You're good to go. 15 seconds, Pastor Byrd.
Yeah, thank you. As years in ministry, we definitely have to support the organizations and the professionals and the professional counselors who can deal with the victims. But I'll tell you something else we have to do. We have to work to bring better jobs back to the area and improve the economy. There's no excuse for domestic violence, but we've got to do everything we can to be able to provide men and women with income levels and jobs. So one of the things that I'm for is knocking on doors, whether it be Columbia or whatever, and saying, hey, we need investments in Florence. We need our slice of the pie in the city of Florence so that men and women don't have to live frustrated lives because they're living below the poverty level.
Thank you so much. Now we will have Shaquez McCall.
Am I unmuted? Oh, yeah.
No, you're ready.
I'm there. Hey, y'all. Again, of course, I definitely understand the enormity of this task. And again, if I'm elected to city council, I would love to work hand in hand with this organization to make sure that they get the funds necessary, and also to make sure our city courts are prepared to protect our victims, and as well as working with them and there was the women's house program where they're providing access for women to leave those dangerous locations where they are at.
Thank you so much. All right, Lauren Everett on behalf of Melissa Ward Watson.
Thank you so much. This is a great question. This is an extremely important issue. This is the first time since I can remember that South Carolina has not been in the top 10 states for women that has been killed by a domestic partner. That's why we need to pass the Violence Against Women Act. This is a bill that Melissa's opponent has voted against. We also need to make funding available to push through to these community groups through the SC Attorney General's office. We need more funding through the Victims of Crime Act, and this is something Melissa will fight for.
Thank you. We certainly appreciate all of the candidates. We appreciate your time. that you spent with us for the past couple of hours. We are now going to have closing remarks by Mrs. Joy Barnes. Joy worked so hard to put this stuff together. I believe Joy started calling me back in August. It may have been July. That's how long she and her sorority group have been working. Okay, Joy.
Yes, thank you. And I thank you very much. I have been working very hard. And so has my connection committee and the chapter as well. So thank you to our moderator, our panelists, and our guests for joining us. It was very informative, and we got off. We were right on time. We were supposed to get off at 8:30, so you have time to get off and get prepared for the presidential debate tonight. And I like to say, watch the debate, and please vote if you haven't already. Have a good night. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.